Well, good day. I'm Jim Sutter, the CEO of the U.S. Soybean Export Council. Thanks for the opportunity to speak briefly about international marketing opportunities for U.S. soy. I always appreciate the opportunity to collaborate with our great partners at the Indiana Soybean Alliance and with Ryan LeGrand at the U.S. Grains Council. Additionally, I want to applaud the instrumental leadership that Undersecretary Ted McKinney plays for U.S. soy and American agriculture. He has been tireless in his efforts since joining USDA in this role. I know that the current COVID-19 situation's interrupted his million-mile quest, but I think he'll probably still have a good chance to get there. So thanks, Undersecretary McKinney, for all you do. We really do all work closely together. I'm sorry to not be with you live today, but I'm involved with another meeting that coincidentally involves representatives from both U.S. Grains Council and FAS. USSEC's Senior Director of Market Access, Roz Leek, who many of you know well, will be joining you during the Q&A session. USSEC works to build preference for U.S. soybeans by differentiating, building a preference, and ensuring market access for U.S. soy around the world. Our international marketing strategy looks at several factors to ensure our approach reflects the conditions on the ground in the various markets that we work in. For example, in mature markets, such as the EU and Japan, we talk mainly about the sustainable production of U.S. soy, as well as the quality attributes, and how these differentiators compare to our competitors. We lead with this type of messaging and information in these mature markets because we have competitive advantages that we like to point out, and we know that those kind of things are of interest to customers in those mature markets. We affectionately call these things the U.S. soy advantage. In expansion markets, such as China, Mexico, and the Philippines, we reinforce the U.S. soy advantage to buyers and customers, while also working with partners there to help them grow their industries, because there's still market share growth to be had there. In a recent case, USSEC took steps to educate local industries on how they could make their poultry production more efficient, thus meeting growing consumer demand while also importing more U.S. soy. Finally, in emerging markets, such as Bangladesh, Egypt, Myanmar, as examples, we target those countries based upon their large populations, low per capita protein consumption, and rising disposable income. We work in those countries to identify production efficiencies and processing for industries such as poultry and aquaculture, among other sectors. We try to bring in industry best practices that they can adopt and ramp up their industries. Our efforts are about education and, as I said, trying to help them ramp up their production so that they can better serve their growing populations. Initially, we don't focus exclusively on U.S. soy. However, our strategy is about cultivating mutually beneficial long-term relationships that inform these decision makers about the differentiation and hopefully endears them to the U.S. for the education that we're providing. We've seen examples in both Egypt and Bangladesh that this strategy has paid dividends and has worked, because in both of those markets, U.S. soy is clearly preferred, as we have a very good market share in both of those rapidly growing markets. No comments about U.S. soy in international markets would be complete unless I talked about China. We've been working there for almost 40 years, trying to build a long-term relationship with importers and stakeholders. We're excited to see the implementation of Phase 1. We understand this agreement has many moving parts, but from what we know, implementation is going well. Recently, we've started seeing an increase in purchases by Chinese importers, and we are very optimistic that this Phase 1 agreement will move forward, and we'll see a good demand from China as we move through the balance of this calendar year. We appreciate all the hard work by FAS and other USDA representatives, including all the behind-the-scenes technical work on Phase 1 in China and many other things that they do around the world for us. As I mentioned, we expect China to be a big buyer of U.S. soy in the coming months. As travel and face-to-face meetings were curtailed due to COVID-19, we've worked adeptly to try and move many of our what would have been in-person meetings around the world to virtual format, just like we're doing today. It's not quite the same as being there, but it's certainly better than doing nothing at all. Since the travel ban was established in March, we've converted over 80 activities around the world, large and small, from in the Americas, Europe, Middle East, North Africa, Greater China, Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia, and Sub-Saharan Africa. We've converted them from, as I said, these in-person events to virtual events. Undersecretary McKinney was kind enough to participate in a recent Pan-Asian event that we did just last week. We had about 800 folks on the screen or watching the screen when Undersecretary McKinney made some comments, and then I had the opportunity to ask him a few questions. It was just great. We got great feedback from that. So finally, I just want to thank you again for the opportunity to make some comments today, but most of all for the partnership that we have, both in history and I'm sure very optimistically, I look forward to the good partnership in the future. I know Roz will do a great job representing USSEC during the Q&A session. Ask her some tough questions. So take care, and I look forward to seeing you in person soon. Thank you.